Hello everyone. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the YouTube channel Doctor's Wisdom Share. And today, the topic that we would like to bring to you is how to drink water correctly. Ladies and gentlemen, water is one of the 6 main nutrients in the human body. These include water itself, protein, fat, carbohydrates, minerals, and vitamins. Water is the main component of body fluids, and it plays an extremely important physiological role in processes such as digestion, blood formation, metabolism, cellular synthesis, and basically all life activities of human beings are carried out with the participation of water. And I would like to remind you of a sentence that people in the past often said, which is that drinking a lot of water is sometimes even better than taking medicine. And there is a study by U.S. National Medical Research Group published in a very prestigious medical journal in January 2023. This study showed that drinking enough water can help you live longer, slow down aging, and significantly reduce the risk of chronic diseases such as stroke, diabetes, dementia, and heart failure. Yes, this information is probably very good news for many people who already have the habit of drinking water every day and drinking a lot of water every day. And let me continue to talk about the important roles of water. For example, first, water helps maintain normal osmotic pressure of body fluids. Second, it promotes digestion and absorption of food. Third, it regulates body temperature. Fourth, it lubricates internal friction inside the body. And fifth, it supplies nutrients and participates in various metabolic processes in the body. Yes, everyone already knows that drinking water plays a very important role. But then the question is, why did I want to make a whole separate topic specifically about water, and more specifically, about drinking water correctly, like in today's talk? Yes, I have already provided you with a lot of useful information and knowledge about how important water is, right? But actually, I have to say this. In the past, when I was a child and a teenager, when I was still living in the countryside, I was constantly sick. I have to say that I came back from the brink of death many times. I went through many different illnesses. I was thin, weak, and frail. But since the time I studied medicine at university up until now, when I truly understood it, when I understood my own body, when I was able to adjust its rhythm and lifestyle, I almost never needed to take medicine anymore. I rarely get sick at all. Honestly speaking to you, with such a weak physical condition as a child, but thanks to adjustments such as drinking water properly, for example, during the COVID pandemic, all hospitals, including mine, had COVID testing rooms right at the door of my office, and many COVID patients came to see me. I did not refuse a single COVID patient. I examined COVID patients right from the very first days, but I did not get infected with COVID. I was completely fine. Why was that? Because I understood how to adjust myself, because I knew the details, because I knew each small thing, and I knew how to do it in a way that produced the best possible effect. So today's program, I think, many people believe that they already know how to drink water. From the past until now, they have been drinking water regularly. But what many people do not realize is that a very large number of people drink water purely by instinct. Yes, they believe water is important. Yes, they believe water is good. But how to drink it? How to drink it properly? How to drink it so that it actually has an effect? Sometimes they simply do not know. And sometimes they just listen to rumors. And ladies and gentlemen, if you have followed this YouTube channel in previous episodes, you will remember that we have shared a lot of information about rumors, especially those related to cancer. So in this episode about how to drink water correctly, we will try our best to explain clearly which statements about drinking water are correct and which ones are not. Some people believe that water is excreted through the kidneys, and they believe that drinking a lot of water increases the burden on the kidneys, so over time it will damage the kidneys. Their reasoning is that the kidneys have to filter water, so if we drink too much water, we urinate more, and that means the kidneys have to work harder, and therefore the kidneys will be damaged. This way of thinking is wrong. It is not correct academically. In medicine, what we learn, how we diagnose and treat patients, is completely different. Let me explain it like this. The kidney's function is to filter metabolic waste products and excrete them out of the body. What are metabolic waste products? For example, ammonia, uric acid, and so on. These are substances that are left over after metabolism, and they must be eliminated from the body. They cannot stay inside the body forever. To do that, the kidneys filter them and excrete them. But this filtering function is actually not as important as the kidneys' function of retaining water. The kidneys have a very important mission, which is to retain water for the body, because water is extremely precious. On Earth, 3/4 of the planet is covered by water, right? 3/4 is ocean, 3/4 is water. But if we lose water in our body, we will die. It is extremely dangerous. So water is extremely important for the human body. It is extremely important for all animals, and the same is true for plants. Therefore, the most important mission is to retain water, not to excrete it. Because water is so precious, nature designed humans and animals in a very smart way. The kidneys were given the function of retaining water, and this task of retaining water is much more demanding and much heavier than the task of filtering metabolic waste. So how does the body retain water? First, there is an area in the brain called the hypothalamus. This area secretes a hormone called antidiuretic hormone. Antidiuretic literally means preventing water loss. This hormone is secreted from the hypothalamus and stored in the posterior pituitary gland. When the body needs it, it is released. When does the body need it? When the body is dehydrated. At that moment, the body immediately sends a signal to the brain, instructing the kidneys to retain water. And as I said, retaining water is an extremely heavy task for the kidneys. Now, if the body drinks too little water, the kidneys must continuously work to retain water. They work non-stop. Eventually, they become exhausted. But if the body drinks enough water, the body does not send a signal of dehydration. Therefore, antidiuretic hormone is not released, and the kidneys do not need to perform the task of retaining water. Excess water in the blood will simply be excreted in the urine. So let us imagine it like this. First, blood follows a circulation process. Blood is pumped from the heart through the arteries and reaches the kidneys. Inside the kidneys, there is a structure called the glomerulus, and after that there is a long system of U-shaped tubules. When blood reaches the glomerulus filters out a fluid that is almost identical to blood plasma. This filtered fluid contains glucose, proteins, water, salts, electrolytes, and many other components basically very similar to plasma. This filtered fluid is called primary urine. After that, this primary urine flows through a long system of U-shaped tubules. And what is the job of these tubules? Their job is to retain water. They reabsorb water back into the body under the control of hormones from the brain. So water is continuously reabsorbed. In the end, only a small amount of water combined with metabolic waste products is excreted as final urine. This entire filtration and reabsorption process is extremely demanding and consumes a lot of energy. Now, if we drink enough water, this complicated process is no longer necessary at such an intense level. The kidneys do not need to work hard to retain water anymore. Water that has completed its function in the body will simply be excreted. In that case, the kidneys are not overloaded. But if we drink too little water, the kidneys must keep working continuously. One day, they will become exhausted. And what happens then? That is kidney failure. When the kidneys become tired, the brain continues to secrete antidiuretic hormone, telling the kidneys to retain water. But the kidneys are already exhausted. They receive the signal, but they cannot respond properly anymore. As a result, water retention fails, and more water is excreted. This is why we observe an important phenomenon. During the daytime, when we are active, we sweat more and we urinate less. That is normal. But at night, when we sleep, we are not active and we sweat less because the temperature is lower. Blood flows through the kidneys, and if the kidneys can no longer retain water effectively, then excessive urine is produced at night. That is why people start to urinate frequently at night. I see many women over the age of 40 who begin to wake up at night to urinate. They immediately assume that they have bladder inflammation. They go from one hospital to another, receiving treatment again and again, but they do not get better. In reality, frequent nighttime urination in these women can be an early stage of kidney failure. In later stages, urine output actually decreases. That is when the kidneys can no longer filter at all, leading to conditions such as oliguria and anuria. But in the early stage, the problem is actually excessive urination, especially at night. For men, frequent nighttime urination is often blamed on prostate enlargement. Many men come to see me, and I examine them, perform ultrasounds, and tell them, your prostate is not enlarged at all. What is happening is that you are drinking too little water, and your kidneys are beginning to show signs of failure. It has nothing to do with prostate enlargement. So we must remember that the early stage of kidney failure is frequent nighttime urination. Many people, including doctors, confuse this with bladder inflammation or prostate disease. So how do we fix this problem? The answer is very simple: drink enough water. Here, I want to emphasize 2 points that you should always remember. First, if we drink enough water, we do not force the kidneys to work excessively. Second, drinking enough water protects the kidneys and prevents kidney failure. These 2 points are extremely important. Therefore, the idea that drinking a lot of water damages the kidneys is completely wrong. If you pay attention, you will notice that whenever we go to the hospital, most doctors advise patients to drink more water, especially patients with bladder inflammation, kidney stones, or a risk of kidney stones. Doctors always recommend drinking more water. In my daily practice, especially when performing ultrasound examinations, I often see that people who drink very little water have sediment floating in their urine inside the bladder. You can literally see the particles moving around. Some people have a lot of sediment. Let us think about kidney stones. There are different types of kidney stones. For example, uric acid stones. When we have too much uric acid in the blood, it gets filtered into the urine. When uric acid combines with certain trace elements, such as calcium, it forms uric acid stones. There are different types of kidney stones. For example, uric acid stones. When we have too much uric acid in the blood, it gets filtered into the urine. When uric acid combines with certain trace elements, such as calcium, it forms uric acid stones. This condition is very dangerous. But if we drink a lot of water, we urinate more. The water washes away uric acid and dilutes it. When uric acid is diluted, it cannot easily react with calcium, magnesium, or phosphate. As a result, it does not precipitate and form stones. Even if small crystals form, drinking plenty of water helps flush them out. Another very common type of kidney stone is oxalate stones. Many dark green vegetables contain a large amount of oxalic acid. When oxalic acid reacts with calcium in urine, kidney stones can form. The mechanism of kidney stones often involves both insufficient calcium absorption and excessive acids such as uric acid and lactic acid. So what is the best way to reduce uric acid and lactic acid in the blood and urine? The answer is drink more water. Water dilutes these acids, increases urine output, and prevents them from accumulating and reacting with minerals. I have advised many patients who already had kidney stones, some stones measuring 4, 5, or even 6 millimeters to simply increase their water intake. Over time, many of these stones passed naturally. After that, as long as they maintained adequate water intake, they never developed kidney stones again. Based on more than 20 years of medical experience, I can say with confidence that water plays an extremely important role for people with kidney stones. If you already have kidney stones, drink water so that the stones do not grow larger. If you do not yet have kidney stones, drink water so that you never get them. This is the most effective preventive method. Now, let us talk about constipation. This topic alone deserves an entire program because it is very complex. There is a famous quote by the great writer Victor Hugo. He once said that a sweet sentence spoken by someone suffering from chronic constipation is harder to listen to than 10,000 curses spoken by a normal person. Constipation causes many serious consequences. But in today's program, since we are talking about water, I want to focus only on how constipation is related to water. People who drink very little water are much more likely to suffer from constipation. Why? Because the main function of the colon is to absorb water and some salts, primarily water. If we drink too little water, stools become dry. They move very slowly. At the same time, the intestinal lining does not have enough moisture to create lubrication. Without lubrication, stool movement becomes even slower. When stool moves slowly, the colon absorbs even more water. This makes the stool harder and harder, like goat pelts, and in severe cases, it can even form fecal stones, which are extremely dangerous. So drinking enough water is crucial, especially for the colon, which acts like a storage area for stool. If we do not drink enough water, the colon absorbs all the water from the stool, turning it into a hard mass. And we all know that stool contains a large amount of toxins. If these toxins are reabsorbed into the body, they can cause many diseases. They also affect our personality, our nervous system, making us anxious, tense, fearful, and stressed. When mental health is affected, many other diseases follow. So drinking enough water helps keep the digestive tract, especially the colon, properly hydrated, allowing stool to move smoothly without stagnation. Second, drinking enough water softens stool, preventing constipation. For people with constipation, drinking only 2 liters of water per day is not enough. I usually recommend more than 3 liters. Of course, drinking excessively can cause water intoxication, which is very dangerous. Drinking 7 liters in a short time can be fatal. But for people with constipation, drinking slightly more than 3 liters per day is often necessary. I have seen many patients with conditions such as elongated colon or sigmoid colon who were able to significantly improve their symptoms simply by drinking enough water, over 3 liters per day. So at this point, many people may already feel like getting up and drinking water right now. Even if you do not feel thirsty yet, you should probably go and drink some water, right? And now I want to talk about the timing of drinking water, especially when we should start drinking water during the day, which is right after waking up in the morning. In Western countries, there are 2 different viewpoints. The first viewpoint says that drinking water is extremely important. Therefore, as soon as you wake up in the morning, before brushing your teeth or washing your face, you should immediately drink a large glass of water. The second viewpoint says the opposite. It says that this is very dirty and even dangerous. In the morning, our mouth smells bad, and there are a lot of bacteria in the mouth. If we drink water immediately, we are essentially swallowing bacteria into the stomach, which is not recommended. So how should we understand this? Let me explain it in a very concrete way so that it is easier to imagine. When we wake up in the morning before brushing our teeth, there are about 500 different species of bacteria in the mouth. In terms of quantity, there are approximately 70 billion bacteria in total. Now, hearing that number 500 species and 70 billion bacteria sounds scary, right? Many people would immediately think, no way, I cannot drink water like that. But we should not be overly frightened. We need to understand that the bacterial ecosystem in the mouth exists in a state of dynamic balance. This means that there are both harmful bacteria and beneficial bacteria. These 2 groups are constantly competing with each other. If harmful bacteria dominate, we get sick. If beneficial bacteria dominate, harmful bacteria are suppressed. Most of the time, the system stays in balance. Occasionally, it becomes imbalanced, but not to the extent that it becomes life-threatening. Think about it. If the bacteria in our mouth were truly that dangerous, then every single person would be seriously ill every morning after waking up, because everyone's mouth is full of bacteria overnight. But that does not happen, so we do not need to be excessively afraid. Now, let us talk about what happens when water enters the stomach. The pH of the stomach is around 1.6 to 2.4, which means it is extremely acidic. This acidic environment destroys most bacteria that enter the stomach. Even the few bacteria that survive will eventually fall into another state of balance inside the body, and the body will regulate itself. So medically speaking, it is not as dangerous as many people imagine. However, from a psychological and sensory perspective, many people still feel uncomfortable drinking water without brushing their teeth first. They feel that it is unpleasant or unhygienic. Up until now, there has been no scientific study anywhere in the world proving that drinking water before brushing your teeth is better than drinking water after brushing your teeth, or vice versa. There is no such study. Doctors around the world simply recommend drinking water in the morning. As for whether you drink it immediately after waking up or after brushing your teeth. It is entirely up to you. Personally, I wake up and brush my teeth and wash my face first, and then I drink water. Even though I brush my teeth before going to bed, I still brush them again in the morning. It only takes a few minutes. After that, I drink water. So the key point here is not whether you drink water before or after brushing your teeth. The key point is that you drink water in the morning. Drinking water in the morning clearly has benefits. We know that conditions such as stroke and heart attack occur most frequently between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. This is the time period with the highest incidence. Why is that? Because stroke and heart attack are often caused by blood clots, either clots traveling to the brain or clots blocking the coronary arteries of the heart. One major factor that contributes to blood clot formation is blood concentration, meaning the blood becomes thicker. During the day, we drink water regularly, but at night, while we are sleeping, we cannot wake up to drink water. We sleep from around 10 or 11 p.m. until about 6 a.m. During that long period, we do not drink a single drop of water. At the same time, we lose water through three routes. First, through urine, because the kidneys continue to produce urine. Second, through sweat, even while sleeping. Third, through breathing, because water is lost with every breath. So we lose water all night long without any replenishment. That is why in the morning, the blood becomes concentrated. You can test this yourself. In the morning, even if you drink 3 or 4 large glasses of water, you may still not feel the urge to urinate right away. Why? Because the blood has become concentrated overnight. The water you drink in the morning is retained to restore normal blood volume. This is actually very fortunate. During this time, if you drink enough water, the kidneys do not need to work excessively. But if you drink too little water, the kidneys must work extremely hard. That is why I strongly recommend increasing water intake in the morning. Even for those who are worried about oral bacteria, I still say, do not be afraid of bacteria. Be afraid of not having enough water. Personally, I am very sensitive about hygiene, so I prefer to brush my teeth first. But that is my personal habit. The recommendation remains the same. Drink water in the morning. My routine is like this. When I wake up, I drink 1 large glass of water. When I arrive at work, I drink another glass. Mid-morning, I drink another glass. Before noon, I drink yet another glass. By late morning, I have already consumed about 1 to 1.5 liters of water. In total, I drink about 3 liters of water per day. I usually recommend a minimum of 2 liters per day. For women, about 1.5 to 2 liters. For men, at least 2 liters. This is the minimum. What about drinking water at night, before going to bed? Drinking water before bedtime is also very valuable, because at night we cannot replenish water. If we do not drink water, the blood becomes concentrated, and the kidneys work harder. Drinking a glass of water before bed can help prevent heart attacks and strokes. However, this brings up the issue of nighttime urination, which can disrupt sleep. Personally, I drink a glass of water before bed and sleep through the night without any problem. But some people wake up to urinate and cannot fall back asleep. In such cases, doctors usually recommend taking just a few sips of water before bed, rather than a full glass. If drinking water before bed does not affect your sleep, then drinking a full glass is beneficial. The key is to avoid disrupting sleep. 9. For mothers who are raising children, there is often a concern like this. Many mothers worry that if their child drinks too much water before going to bed, the child will wake up at night to urinate, right? In that case, we should think carefully. Before going to bed, we should still let the child drink water, but we should also encourage the child to go to the bathroom before sleeping, so that nighttime urination can be reduced. I think this is also a very useful lesson for me personally, as a parent of 2 children. Very often, after the lights are turned off and everyone is ready to sleep, the child suddenly says, "Mom, I want to drink water." I believe that this is both a habit and a real physiological need of the body, and it should be met so that digestion, absorption, and excretion can function better. Many people believe that drinking salt water is good, or that drinking water with a few slices of lemon in the morning, or adding a little honey, is better. So what is the reality? These are common beliefs that are partly based on reason, but also partly incorrect. Let us talk about salt water first. Many people believe that drinking a glass of water mixed with a little salt is good for the body. I have to say clearly that this belief is not accurate. In modern society, people are encouraged to reduce salt intake as much as possible. If we add salt to water and drink it, we are essentially increasing salt intake, which can actually cause dehydration rather than hydration. So, we should not routinely drink salt water. However, there is one special situation where salt water may be used. That is when we want to clean the intestines, especially for people who suffer from constipation. Let me share a method with you. On a day off, such as Saturday or Sunday, when you do not need to go to work, in the morning you can prepare salt water slightly concentrated. You can mix salt into warm water, similar to soup. Then, drink 2 to 3 large glasses of this salt water within a short period of time, perhaps with a few minutes in between. What happens then? Because salt water has a higher osmotic pressure, it draws water from the intestinal wall into the intestinal lumen. This causes water to stay inside the intestines instead of being absorbed. As a result, intestinal contents move very quickly. The water travels rapidly from the stomach into the intestines and then into the colon. This softens the stool and increases intestinal motility. For people without constipation, bowel movement may occur within 30 to 40 minutes. For people with constipation, it may take about an hour. This method can effectively clean the intestines. However, this should only be done occasionally, not frequently. Drinking salt water regularly can cause dehydration and is dangerous. So, let me emphasize this clearly. Salt water is not for daily hydration. It should only be used occasionally for intestinal cleansing, and even then with caution. In cases of dehydration caused by viral fever, diarrhea, or electrolyte loss, people should drink oral rehydration solutions, not salt water. If oral rehydration solution is unavailable, then light soups or broth with a small amount of salt may be used temporarily. Outside of these situations, do not add salt to your drinking water. Now, let us talk about honey water. Many people like to mix honey with warm water, sometimes adding ginger, and believe that this is very healthy. Honey is indeed a very precious natural product, crystallization of nature's essence. But if used incorrectly, it can also be dangerous. Honey contains two potential risks. First, honey may contain spores of botulinum bacteria, which cause botulism. This is an extremely dangerous toxin. Once poisoning occurs, the patient may suffer total paralysis and require mechanical ventilation for many months. Mortality rates are very high. Because of this risk, the World Health Organization strictly prohibits giving honey or honey products to children under 2 years old. This rule is written into law in many countries. For adults, the risk is lower, but it still exists. Second, honey contains a large amount of fructose, which is easily absorbed by the liver and can increase the risk of diabetes. People with a family history of diabetes, metabolic disorders, or insulin resistance should be especially cautious. In my opinion, honey is best used in cooking, where heat destroys harmful bacteria. Adding honey directly to water and drinking it raw carries unnecessary risk. Now, let us talk about lemon water. Lemon water is actually very good. Lemon contains citric acid, which helps counteract acids that contribute to kidney stone formation. It helps wash away these acids. That is why people with kidney stones, or those who want to prevent kidney stones, often drink lemon water, especially in the morning, when sediments may have accumulated in the kidneys and bladder overnight. However, lemon water can irritate the stomach lining and digestive tract. Not everyone tolerates it well. Personally, I drink lemon water without any problem, but some people experience stomach discomfort, so you must listen to your body. If lemon water feels fine, drinking a glass in the morning can be very beneficial. If it causes discomfort, then do not force it. Just drink plain water. Another common belief is that warm water is better than cold water. Up to now, there has been no scientific study proving that warm water is better than cold water or vice versa. Doctors around the world generally say that both are fine. It depends on personal preference and individual constitution. Some people cannot tolerate cold water. If they drink cold water, they develop sore throats or coughing. These people should drink warm water. Others, like me, do not like warm or hot water at all. I prefer cool or cold water. I drink cold water every morning and throughout the day, and I feel perfectly fine. From a physiological perspective, when cold water enters the stomach, it quickly warms up to body temperature around 37 C. So there is no need to worry that cold water remains cold inside the body. Therefore, drink water at the temperature that feels comfortable for you. Now, returning to the topic of drinking water in general. Drinking water is important for everyone, but there are situations where we need even more water. For example, when you have a viral fever, doctors often advise drinking a lot of water. When you have abdominal pain, doctors advise drinking water. Even when you feel dizzy or lightheaded, doctors may advise drinking water. Water has many benefits. Drinking more water allows you to work and exercise at higher intensity. Drinking more water makes your body feel full of energy. Drinking more water improves skin appearance, making it more radiant, youthful, and smooth. Drinking more water helps you recover from illness faster. Drinking more water clears your mind and reduces headaches. Drinking more water supports heart health and reduces palpitations. The human body is more than 70% water. Water contains no calories and no fat. It helps regulate body temperature, balance nutrients, accelerate metabolism, and eliminate toxins. Water does not get stored in the body, so it does not cause weight gain. On the contrary, drinking water properly can help with weight loss. Some people say we should drink more than 3 liters of water per day. But to make things easier to remember, I usually recommend 2 liters per day as a basic reference. For women, about 1 to 1.5 liters, sometimes up to 2 liters. For men, at least 2 liters. People with constipation may need more than 3 liters. Personally, I drink about 3 liters per day, and I find that my health remains very good. Now, how do we know whether we are drinking enough water, drinking too much water, or drinking too little water? What standard should we rely on? I mentioned the number 2 liters earlier. That number is commonly recommended by experts around the world, and many international guidelines also mention this number. 2 liters is equivalent to 8 glasses of water, with each glass being about 250 milliliters. 8 glasses equal 2 liters. This is an easy number to remember, so many scientists and doctors use this as a general guideline. However, this number is not fixed for everyone. Some people need less than 2 liters. Some people need more than 2 liters. So how do we decide? The simplest and most practical way is to observe your urine. If you drink about 2 liters of water per day and your urine becomes completely clear, like rainwater, then you should be careful. That means you are probably drinking too much water. Drinking excess water is not beneficial, so there is no need to force yourself to drink more. If you urinate very frequently and the urine is completely transparent, reduce your water intake slightly. On the other hand, if your urine is cloudy, dark yellow, or deep yellow, that means you are not drinking enough water, and you need to increase your intake. If your urine is light yellow, not too dark, not completely clear, and there is no cloudiness, then you can be confident that you are drinking enough water. This is the simplest way to determine whether your water intake is appropriate. Personally, my body needs about 3 liters of water per day, so I adjust my intake accordingly. But some people only need about 1.5 liters, and that is perfectly fine. This is why the number of 2 liters or 8 glasses is used mainly as a reference, not a rigid rule. We must listen to our bodies and adjust based on urine color and clarity. Now, let me share some important notes on how to drink water properly so that the body benefits and does not become overloaded. From the beginning of today's program until now, we have talked a lot about drinking water. So let me summarize a few key points. First, in the morning, after waking up, you should drink a glass of water. Whether you drink it before brushing your teeth or after brushing your teeth is entirely up to you. Do not worry too much about that. Drinking water in the morning helps stimulate intestinal movement, flush out residual substances in the stomach and intestines, and replenish the water lost overnight. However, 1 glass is usually not enough. Based on my experience and what I recommend, water intake should be increased during the morning hours, more than at other times of the day. This is because after waking up, blood is concentrated, and the body needs water urgently. So morning hydration is very important. Second, you should avoid drinking water immediately before meals, unless your goal is weight loss. If you drink water before eating, food becomes diluted when it enters the stomach, which reduces digestive efficiency. However, if you want to lose weight, drinking water before meals is helpful. It fills the stomach, reduces appetite, and speeds up gastrointestinal movement, resulting in less nutrient absorption. But if your goal is proper nutrition and good digestion, then do not drink water right before meals. Third, during meals, avoid drinking too much soup or water. Excessive liquid intake during meals dilutes digestive juices and makes digestion less efficient. Again, if your goal is weight loss, this rule can be relaxed. But generally, if you want good absorption of nutrients, do not drink too much liquid during meals. Fourth, about 30 minutes after meals, you should drink a glass of water. By that time, gastric acid and digestive enzymes have already been secreted. Water then acts as a solvent, helping digestion proceed more smoothly. Fifth, drinking water before bedtime is beneficial, but it should be adjusted individually. Some people may drink a full glass, while others should only take a few sips to avoid nighttime urination and sleep disruption. 6. Do not wait until you feel thirsty to drink water. When thirst appears, dehydration has already begun. Instead, build a habit of drinking water regularly throughout the day. Choose a baseline of about 2 liters, adjust upward or downward as needed, and distribute intake evenly, with increased intake in the morning. In my experience, increasing water intake in the early morning and then spreading it evenly throughout the day helps maintain good health. I believe that drinking water should be guided by medical knowledge and scientific understanding, not by blind belief or rumors. As I mentioned in previous episodes, habits do not form in one day. Today, I have shared many good habits related to drinking water. These habits should be practiced gradually day by day. You may use notes or reminders to help yourself remember to drink water. There are even social media pages dedicated solely to reminding people to drink water, often using humor to make it easier to form this habit. You can also remind your family members and loved ones to drink enough water every day so that everyone can maintain good health. If you enjoy the information we share, please like, subscribe, and share this content so that more people can benefit from useful health knowledge. We will return with more episodes on the YouTube channel Doctor's Wisdom Share. Wishing you good health and happiness. Thank you, goodbye, and see you again.